experience personally regarding, I know how people from New Jersey are. And, people from New Jersey probably have a similar response to that, where they probably stand there, or if they're in a chair, they're probably like, sure, most likely you don't. Because I guess it depends on whether or not they know what specific references, possibly most likely in a pop culture sort of way. So for those who don't know, and those who do know, as a re-clarification, I was not allowed to watch television shows or movies that were above a PG, well, couldn't even do PG, a G-rated show or movie. And only after I turned 13 years old was I allowed to, at some point-ish, depending on, watch anything that was PG or PG-13. In the 1980s and 1990s in New Jersey. Yeah. In comparison, which I still, as far as my son and my daughter, hi James, hi Lydia, I love you, and I miss you, and all journal blogs as far as, the hashtag for my son is letters with the number 4, James, and the hashtag for my daughter is letters, the number 4, and Lydia, just for the knowledge of mainly my son and my daughter. So that way, it's how much I care. This is how much. But hi, and so that's the equivalent of, what is the term I heard more recently in one of the YouTube videos I was listening to? I think it's called a shout out or something like that, or in me regarding being a mom. I'm still doing my mom stuff, even though, like, I know that you're above the age of 18 years old biologically, but those who know how certain particular factors are when it comes to yantas and yetis, well, I know that you're all grown up. I know, you're so big and so, I do, yeah, yes, I do. I'm still thinking about you and caring that so that way you can make intelligent decisions. You might not like knowing the reality of how, I gave birth to you, but now that you are a biological adult, now you're all grown up, and so, you're gonna have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and how that goes as far as breeding children, and so, you just have to accept those facts, even, so you didn't have to deal with certain things, and so those So despite, being completely against incest in every capacity, that's not incest, no. You need to understand how to be safe, because I care. And so you need the education. So that way and I care, and I love, and all that stuff. Because, this is just how life was in the 1980s and 1990s. But especially if you know how some yantas and yetis are. And so, for those who remember me from Asher Holmes Elementary School, while you guys were doing whatever you were doing, your yantas and yetis, you remember those that came to all of those performances? Oh, well, aren't you In reference to McCoy Elementary School with James, Lydia, Schmolly, Pants, come over here. You can talk with your friends later. Come over here. So all of those people that I went to school with in Asher Holmes Elementary School, you know, your Yentas and Yetis, you know, whatever you heard in the car ride and whatever afterwards. Yeah. That's because after all of those performances, while you guys were hanging out with one another, that's so, and, you know, oh, well, come over here. Oh, look at you. You are definitely Jewish. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the Northeast at all for that. That's just a thing in some ways. Although there is a specific type that is of the Yentas and Yetis that are in the Northeast area, because, and this goes into some of the New Jerseyan aspects, because there's that, and then there's oh, well, you know, my sister, she lives in New York City. We live in New Jersey, and but we still go to Boca. We still go to Boca. We still stay at the same location. But, you know, she lives in New York City. Yeah, we have this fantastic property. We have all of this room in our house, which, you know, they sure don't want to take advantage of when they go through New Jersey, but they want to go and say something that they got, But, you know, she said, no, if you knew how things went. But yes, I'm yes. For those who know. Usually, especially through personal experience. In those capacities. So, you know, what's kind of the difference between New York State, New York City, Staten Island, and the Hamptons, which, to be honest, while, you know, no, it's Staten Island is not the Hamptons, because the Hamptons are the Hamptons. Because the Hamptons. Yes, we are where we are. We are more northern. We do this. Yes, and we are our own island. Yeah, no, you can't take a ferry to get there. I mean, you could, it-ish. But, you know, we're not that close to New York City. We are, except, you know, we have our time in the cards. And our property is a little bit more, it's you know, it's different than New Jersey. It's not that different in some ways. Except the taxes. But, you know, this is how we do things in some ways. So, you know, one of the things that I didn't understand as a child was certain types of competition. Because it was one of those, well, why are you, so you're bringing up taxes? And so, and I was a massively huge dork as a child. And so when they would bring up taxes, it's like, well, what do you, because later was the Enron stuff, and it's like, well, we pay this in taxes, and we pay that, and this was an actual competition. This is what actually, so it was like, well, you know, sure, New York City has their taxes, but we have our taxes. the equivalent of some people in New Jersey who these two houses were next to each other in Freehold, New Jersey. And they would have competitions as far as how much decoration they did in reference to the Christmas lights. And so when it got, like, they actually got to, well, I have this many strands of lights as far as oh yeah, well, on this strand of lights, there are this many lights in comparison to that many lights. And so then it progressed to, oh yeah, well, here's my electricity bill. Oh yeah? Here's my electricity bill. This is literally... I don't believe that that is the reason for the season. I'm fairly certain. Just gonna throw that out there, hypothetically. That might not be the actual reason for the season of Christmas. I'm not the smartest crayon in the toolbox. However, to each their own. So, as far as, I got my nails done, I got my hair done, and I'll wear whatever outfit I feel like wearing. That's a very New Jerseyan thing. In comparison, and this is a big comparison, because if I was in certain references a New York Cityer in comparison to someone who goes, from New Jersey to New York City, in New York Cityer, it's, well, this is by whatever brand, and this is by whatever brand, and this is by whatever brand, and then these shoes, yes, these, they're by whatever brand. New Jerseyans, on the other hand, well, it looks good. I made this work, and what's important is my hair is taken care of, and my nails. That's how that goes. The original thrift store shoppers in that regard are the New Jerseyans, or the New York Cityers who went down to New Jersey to pay less really good example. That's a different version of New Jerseyan, because instead of the well, how much are you willing to pay for shipping in that capacity, and whether or not the no shipping charges are always the best. Even if you have to wait a couple of extra whatever, as long as it's not too long in that capacity. In those situations, you have to kind of plan in advance in comparison, because you don't know how the actual shipping time frame, and you want to give enough room just in case for whatever. So yeah, and so that's one aspect of New Jerseyans. But again, I don't know how I personally have dealt with as many in this regard, but I'm sure I'm not the only person in regards to. I know how people are from New Jersey. I don't believe you. The fact you're all like this. I mean, what is your what is your reference point? So in Washington State, I found this show called. So there were two shows. One, I can't remember what it's called, and that one, it kind of reminded me of a New York Cityer who moved to New Jersey and had family there. And then he kind of still did business in, both New Jersey and New York City. And that guy, he was fairly quick to kind of get angry. But that's like a New York City thing. So, I don't know if it's just because it was kind of based in the New Jersey area. I can't remember the name of the show, but those who know what I'm talking about as far as that's concerned. And then there's the Jersey Shore. And I was like, oh, I remember that from kindergarten, except not the alcohol part. But yeah, you give us our sippy cups. We know how to party. Yes, we do. Because most, I would say that's not necessarily the stereotype, but kind of more so in regards of, contemplative. If there's an issue, they let you know. And you can either do certain things, or if you choose not to, but they will let you know. They will give you that opportunity to fix yourself, but you won't not know. That's a New York City thing. New York Cityers, that's kind of the, well, you should know it, and then, well, what? I mean, certain types of, and depending on the area, certain types, they have their specific, the most passive-aggressive, and then the irony of the passive-aggressive, then when they're like, rawr, it's one of those, well, where did that come from? Well, in comparison to New Jerseyans, it usually takes probably 10 to 15, depending on the average New Jerseyan, 10 to 15, maybe 20, direct, no actual reason, because if you have a reason that's a legitimate reason, most New Jerseyans are like, well, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out, that sort of stuff, and then we'll go hang out and go party. And that's really a stereotype when it comes to actual New Jerseyans, whereas, New York Cityers, or especially the outskirts, not the actual city of, the outskirts and the suburbs and stuff like that of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. That's kind of the other factor where it's similar to New York City, but it's not. And that's more of the passive-aggressive, oh, you should know what you did. No, because you get pissy about anything and everything. And then you're passive-aggressive about anything and everything. Whereas New Jerseyans are just like, here it is, A, B, C, D, F, G. actually fix and repair stuff, or if you're going to go do the passive-aggressive thing, not worth it. Not worth my time, not even going to make any attempt or a try to guess, because if it was actually important, you'll actually use your words in comparison to, doing the passive-aggressive sort of thing. Because New Jerseyans, they'll just, hi, sup. Not in a aggressive way either. It's more along the lines of, hey, what's up? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then, if you know exactly what they're talking about, then, oh, well, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you have the discussion in comparison. Though there are certain Maryland and Delawareans that are kind of along that outskirts of the Pennsylvania, in the outskirts of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, in the high-end suburbs that are kind of similar. So for Texas, for that particular reference, that's like Austinites. Where it's the passive-aggressive thing instead. And then it's the opposite of New Jerseyans when it comes to certain things. So with Austinites, it's usually passive-aggressive, but in comparison to the other areas, it's, here's a hit, go figure it out, like, whatever. And like, if you just be intelligent enough, like, maybe if you had a college degree, like, maybe you would actually be capable to actually understand what this passive-aggressive hinting is. And comparison, yeah, and then usually less than it takes for a New Jerseyan, on the average New Jerseyan, where it's 10 to 15, maybe 20, before, what's going on? And each can verify from their own experiences. Usually at about the fifth, maybe the sixth. And then it's kind of like, well, why didn't you just use your words? Because, we have a degree. And even though in order to earn a degree, we have to do all of these papers. And we have to do all this stuff. If you had a degree, you'd understand. Because of the alumni aspect. Because of, if you actually, sure, you earned 26 scuba diving certifications, as an example. But, it's not a degree. Sure, no, the amount of time per, as far as what hours are considered per, a degree. Sure, if you were to take your 26 scuba diving certifications as far as the hours for each one of your classes per certification, plus if you were to take all of those hours in reference to scuba diving in the actual water, and if we were to actually calculate, the study time additionally to your 26 scuba diving certifications, sure, you'd have the equivalent of a minimum of 7 PhDs. But you don't have a piece of paper. And that piece of paper, if you understood what that piece of paper actually meant in comparison to, totally make fun of, because, you have a plastic card, and now these are actual words for an example of a situation I dealt with in Austin, when I, at that time, had brought up the 16 certification specialty course that I had completed. That was the course. But anyway, yeah, well,
your response was,
Yes, I had all of these college experiences. Yeah, I've been to college. Yeah, but you didn't get a degree. Yeah, I didn't need one, and I also didn't need certain experiences. Yeah, but I have this piece of paper that takes a lower amount of heat to burn. Yes, exactly. It takes a lower amount of heat to burn that. And somehow they thought that they were correct with that. Then I made another reference, I have an idea of what's a difference between my 16 scuba diving certification courses for my certifications compared to your degree. Oh, what do you have to say? Well, your degree can be ripped easily compared to my certification cards. They don't rip. They might bend and flex a little bit, but what can I say? I know how to flex if I need to. And so, which is a complete New Jerseyan thing to do, because this is not a New Jerseyan thing. No, that's a New Jerseyan thing. Because you got it. It's the shoulder. That's a New Jerseyan thing. Except for certain music, because then it's, you do, but it depends. And so, again, 1980s, 1990s version in comparison. I mean, I even, including my corset, but not including my corset in my outfit, it is kind of a smidgen New Jerseyan from the 1980s, 1990s. Because, you got the heels. It's a New Jerseyan thing. As far as in the pants aspect. Because New York Cityers, they didn't ever wear heels with their pants. That's a New Jerseyan thing. So New York Cityers, they wear boots with their pants. In comparison to New Jerseyans, sure, you'd see plenty wear boots with their pants depending on the weather. But New Jerseyans put in fashion the heels with certain pants. It's a reality. And so, but you have to also pay attention to that. Because that is a very New Jerseyan thing, to wear pants with heels. But only certain pants. Can't be just any pair of pants, because, you have to have certain heels for certain pairs of pants. Because, what is it, hipster, I think they're hip hugger, boot cut jeans. You can wear heels with those, depending on your shirt, depending on your shoes. If you knew about fashion, especially in the 1980s and 1990s. And so, even just an overall sort of way, but because it's a New Jerseyan thing to do. It is. So there's a multitude of differences. Now, then you have Pennsylvania, which Pennsylvania would literally, and you literally can see it on the map, they would be on the sideline. Anything that New Jersey or New York City did, Pennsylvania was like, look, we did it too! Look! They were like the middle child. So the irony of ironies, New Jersey being like kind of the oldest, being like, this is the way of the world, and A, B, C, D, E, F, G. New York City is kind of like not necessarily the youngest child, but like maybe-ish, but it's also kind of like let's say there's siblings and they're all one gender, they're the one that's the other gender. And so, if you have a bunch of sisters and then there's one brother, And then, whatever, I already been there, done that, didn't need the t-shirt because got the experience. Yeah, and you didn't get the same experience because that's how it goes, because that's a New Jerseyan thing. And the New Jerseyans, I don't know where we get this rap in regards of like being overtly like "Rrr!" in that capacity, because that's really New York City, which especially Staten Island and Hamptonites would really know, because Staten Island and Hamptonites, in comparison to Pennsylvania, have that, and then there's New York State, which New York State, that's the issue right there, because New York State considers Staten Island and New York City one and the same, which that's why Staten Island's like, no, live in Staten Island, it's near New York City. It's not the same. Okay. It's not the same, it's Staten Island, that's why it's called Staten Island. It's an island. Whereas Hamptonites are like, well, no, Staten Island is kind of, it's not the Hamptons though. No, it's not the Hamptons. No, it's not the Hamptons. And then New York Staters are like, that you're kind of like in this little small area, you kind of, whatever. Which then Pennsylvanians are pretty much like, yeah, you're all New York City. And see, that's the thing that some haven't paid attention to. Is that's that middle child thing. That's usually where that stirring up comes from. Because it's the middle child syndrome of well, you're all the same, and then no. This is the reason, and 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 this is the reason. Huge difference. And so usually it's the middle child syndrome of Pennsylvanians who are, and then the irony, well, we're all in the tri-state area together. And that's where New York City, Staten Island, East Hamptons, New York State, and New Jersey are like, no. And so Pennsylvanians, well, New York State, like we're kind of the same because, in New York State, you have a bigger amount of land and stuff in, Pennsylvania. And New York Staters are like, yeah, but in your massive amounts of land, you have Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, where in New York State, we could be like, yeah, well, New York City is there, and we're New York State. And so we claim, we take in the Hamptonites and the Staten Islanders, and yeah, New York City's there. Whereas Pennsylvania's like, no. Like the hippie version, no. We're all the same, man. We're totally cool in comparison. And New Jerseyans are like, don't go there. No, you're gonna stir up stuff in New York State and New York City and the Hamptons and Staten Island. Oh, no. I'm going over here. New Jerseyans are infamous for, go over here. You guys deal with that, because oldest child, I know better. I'm not dealing with that. You want to know why I'm not dealing with that? Because when in regards to like DC and that, yeah, no, when the President of the United States of America and First Lady of the United States of America and Vice President of the United States of America, and in this case in 2022, the first husband in the United States or second husband in the United States of America, when mom, dad, and step parents find out, no, New Jerseyans are like, nope, no. When governors and mayors no, I was over here. Don't blame me for any of that. No, 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 no. Yeah, yeah, and then the irony of ironies, oh, you're the oldest, and you should, yeah, I'm the oldest, and I knew better than to deal with it, because no matter what, you're gonna blame me, but if you're gonna blame me for anything, I made every attempt to stop any of the problems. They decided to do however they decided to do, and then I was just like, no, because that one has blamed me for that, and you knew it was that one, so you know what? I'm gonna go over here. And the worst thing that you could say is I went over here after giving as many warnings for them to grow up. That one's gonna blame me for this, and I'm gonna have been over here, and so that one's gonna finally have to deal with it because I'm not dealing with it anymore. Because that's like the for those who understand that, especially if you've got siblings, you understand. No, I'm not taking responsibility for what they did. I will take responsibility for what I did, and yeah, sure, whatever. I walked away from the drama because it's needless drama because I'm not willing to deal with it. I have things to do. I have my life to live. I have stuff to take care of, and at some point in time, I have to go and do whatever. So no, I sure did. I walked over here because I've already dealt with. Because anybody who has siblings, you understand this, or cousins or whatever. No, I was off in college, or I was at work, or I was doing this while elementary and middle schoolers and preschoolers were doing whatever. No, you are not going to blame me for that. No. I had my work I was doing and whatever. No, you know what? It's your job to be a parent in comparison to me. I have my own life to live. No, I am not taking responsibility for that because it's not mine. No. It's a huge difference between New Jersey and because then, usually in that capacity of these particular references, it's, you got Pennsylvania, which is like, but I wanted to touch it, and can't we all just get along? I mean, sure, because it's the typical middle child syndrome at that point, but sure, totally, whatever, I'm doing whatever and stuff, but why do you want to blame, whatever, because, they did that, New Jersey totally brought that up, and then, yeah, well, you did, yeah, but do we really have to go into that? I mean, there's this other stuff, too. Whereas New York Cityers are like, and York Cityers, no matter which borough, always can tell a New Jerseyan. Because a New York Cityer, whichever borough, knows that New Jerseyans are the equivalent of Switzerland. Yeah, no, whatever your issue is with whatever, that doesn't involve me. I can be cool with both sides. I don't, whatever as far as whatever. That's just how that is. I'll point out facts if you feel like that. Otherwise, I'll just kind of stop my. Just let me know if I got a duck in or if I notice anything, I'll let you know if you need to duck and cover, or we can all duck and cover together. In comparison, all 5 boroughs, this is where kind of the is, because they can't tell when it comes to certain Pennsylvanians. Because Pennsylvanians, depending on where they were born and raised, depends on how they are in New York City. Because, and this is a hypothetical, but from what I've also noticed, Pennsylvanians, it's kind of similar in that regard of, dude, we could totally get along, but there was this that happened, I'm gonna just, and then there was this that happened, and, and then there was this, but we could totally get along, whatever, man. But yeah, totally, whatever, except when it actually goes down. Except that, because when it actually goes down, there are those who know. Despite them stirring up stuff, they go run and hide. And so, and it's one of those, no. And then they do that passive-aggressive thing that every New York Cityer, Staten Islander, Hamptons, New York Stater, New Jerseyan, Maryland, and Delawarean knows about. They just haven't necessarily had the words for it. Where, oh, I'm gonna go run over here, and Pennsylvania's like a totally big state, and the irony of ironies is with Pennsylvanians, 1980s, 1990s, once again, although I don't know, it depends on situations, Pennsylvanians then go to Marylandites and Delawareans. And, we totally are the same. And, there's Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. And usually the ones that live in the outskirts, where the homeowners associations are regarding Pittsburgh and Philadelphia on the outskirts, those types, usually they go, I'm totally from Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. I'm totally not going to tell you Marylandites or Delawareans that, live in this and whatever, but we could totally be cool. Because we're totally one and the same, except not. And so, whatever. But we could totally get along, man. Flower child. And then usually when Marylandites especially when Marylandites find out, as far as Pennsylvanians, as far as the outskirts of Pittsburgh or outskirts of Philadelphia. What do you mean that? Oh no, you did. No, because then that's the 5 boroughs in the 1980s and 1990s. Oh no, you did. No. You said you lived in this area. Oh no. There is a difference between. Don't you make me? Oh no, you didn't. Because in comparison, we're New York Cityers in the 1980s and 1990s. I thought, whoa, or the Marylandites. Oh no, you didn't. No, you didn't go there. Oh no, no. I'll show you. Because, have to deal with these, and like, but you only see that we have the backyards and stuff like that. But look, where are the fences made of wood? Most, if we have fence lines, or chain link fences, it's the same. If you're just paying attention to like the backyard thing in comparison. We actually have so much more in common. So like where you in Maryland, you deal with like, and Delaware will include you in there. You, Maryland and Delaware, you totally have to deal with DCers and that stuff. And people who will stay in Maryland or Delaware instead of staying in DC. Or people who want to travel to certain areas of Pennsylvania but don't want to be there particularly because they want to enjoy the drive. They want to see the forestry and they want to do this and do that. But it's just easier because usually it's a multi wherever of whatever in comparison. And then, but we have a little bit more to deal with because we're look at you in some ways. You got DC and you got, but we have to deal with you guys. try to bring that in my house, I will check you. I will 1980s hockey team check you. I will throw all of my shoulder in that. Like, I will even grab onto my arm so that I could give a little extra boost in that. And you might even get an elbow at the same time on my shoulder. Because, that's a New Jersey. But again, an average New Jerseyan, it takes about 10, 15-ish times. And again, the 10, 15-ish times, it has to be something that has absolutely nothing to do with certain things. Like, there cannot be any actual proof. Meaning, there's no reason or cause or anything. Like, there's no background of anything to actually be upset about. And it's just the equivalent of stirring up needless drama. That's where it takes 10, 15 times for the average New Jerseyan that's like, why are you doing that? And then, and then it's another 10, 15 times before it's like, all right, I'm giving you a warning. And then it's another 10, 15 times before it's like, all right, this isn't, you're not being cool. And then it's another 10, 15 times before it's like, all right, I know my state. I know my state, and I know my state. And then it's another 10, 15 times before it's like, have you heard of, there's this area in North New Jersey. It's not technically in New Jersey, it's not technically in New York City, but it's kind of in the area between. Have you heard of this location? It's kind of a body of water. Have you heard of it? And then it's another 10, 15 times again of just the absolute no basis of anything for that particular reference before a true New Jerseyan's like, okay, so we need to have a conversation now, do we? Okay. No, we can totally have a conversation. I prefer not to have a conversation. I prefer to have a discussion. But if you want to have a conversation, we can have a conversation. I really don't like having conversations. I really, really don't. So I will offer you a sit down before we have a conversation. And if you choose to ignore my offer for a sit down, well then, sure. No, that's fine. No, that's totally okay. No, that's fine. Nope. Nope, it's okay. It's alright. Yeah, no, it's okay. No, that's fine. No. We can totally. No, that's fine. No. And then there's other New Jerseyans who it takes about 25 to 30 of those times. Because then it's like, and it's usually, you know where that usually ironically is? Mid to North New Jersey. Where it takes 25 to 30 times if they don't go to New York City. That's only it. If they don't go to New York City, but they have business, then it takes that. But here's the opposite in regards to those who only visit New York City for like Broadway, or, then they are actually less than. They don't even get to the 10 as far as that's concerned. They get to like 2 or 3 before they, and I can't believe you did that. And do you know who I am? I'm like, if you actually knew how New Jersey is, which is the irony of ironies, because it's like, if you didn't do that, that'd be great. Because in true New Jersey, it is not gonna be like that. I like that, because we don't do that. So So if you want a reference on that, those who
who have met me in person, face-to-face in person, you know, however many times it took for me before I even raised my voice. And I have a biological sister, and she's 4 years younger than me. And she actually looks Asian in comparison. But like, for those who know. But like, Susan has the Chinese middle name, and like, I'm totally Asian in comparison. She has to do her makeup in order to look Chinese, except like, didn't ever pay attention to the eyelids. But like, you know, like, I did this, and then I did that, and like, I'm so much more like, if you were to pay attention, if you actually knew what I was like, being your little sister. Because like, okay, so Susan, like, she doesn't even really compare for anything, like, she, okay, whatever, she like, I was in all of these dance recitals, and like, there wasn't any competition, except for like, who was gonna be the like, little prima ballerina, and like, it's not fair. Or anybody who's met my biological little sister, or biological sister, just is what it is. You know the difference, and if I'm accurate and she remained the same as far as that's concerned, there are those who have known me in person, face-to-face in person, where it's like, yeah, what's up? Hey, yeah, no, I'll just, you know, I'll just go in the smoking section, you know, and just kind of chill, whatever, because it is what it is. And that is a stereotypical New Jerseyan to a Satire. If you actually knew, no, okay. Like, no. If you actually knew, because if you actually knew, it was so difficult. It was so, like, no, because childhood was, like, so difficult. Like, just picture this, okay? Like, I told Mom and Dad about everything that, like, I totally did, but, like, totally, like, threw Susan under the bus because I was gonna be the prima ballerina. And then there's the irony. So I had told this guy. So in 2011, there's this guy named Steve, and for the exotic Easter thing, I was the most wanted in that regard of like all the whatevers as far as the particular performance production thing. And he wanted where, you had the Russian toy soldier stuff, and you had the Jack in the Box as far as that, and then you had the Barbie doll situation, and then you had the characters as far as bitch and douche, and then you have the toy master, and then there was the most wanted one of all, and that was me, which, I made fun of, because I was like, Steve. You actually knew, like, no, I actually was left out of a lot of stuff. If people actually wanted me in that capacity, whatever, but let me tell you a funny story, but it's the truth. So, my biological sister, she does this little prima ballerina stuff, and she did, a little fairy plum, whatever, and if you were looking to stir up needless drama, between my biological sister and I guarantee you, if she were to find out about me going and being the prima ballerina and stuff like that, yeah, I can totally make fun of her in that. I'll totally just be like, yes, I can do the little whatever myself and stuff like that. And, but I'll be kind in comparison to what I can do as far as that's concerned. So, I won't hurt her feelings that bad, because, in comparison to like, in that capacity in a corset and heels, yeah, no, that's fine. Because going back to if you knew her childhood was, like, she always had to be better, and like was totally Beyonce. Okay. But like she didn't know that I was totally Beyonce-ing. And so it was so annoying because every time I went to go with Beyonce, she didn't even notice. And I was so mad, and like my whole life has been just around this whole time. You should totally feel bad for me. Except not. And so there were people in Texas that were like, oh, it's just a typical sibling rivalry. And it's like, no. I wish it was just as simple as that, but no. Because if it was as simple as that, it'd be simple. In comparison, yeah, no. She has to do this, like, it's so ridiculous. She has such a psychological complex. It's ridiculous. It's like she wishes she could actually be a bit more militaristic, but more so she's kind of like a Nazi in compare, but she's not even like a leader in that. She's like one of those like, I'm just really good sort of thing in comparison. You know how people are from New Jersey. I know. Yeah, no, you don't. You don't know. Like, even people who went to college in New Jersey don't know this. Like, they could be told about it and then be like, there was this point in time where I spent, as far as like from another country, and there was a time I do recall that type of. And then you could have, guys from below the Mason-Dixon line in the South. Y'all know, yes you do, sure done got it. By golly, gee whiz. And so, and since I'm not in a relationship, I can be all, well, this guy is cute. Like, what is that? I was listening. I'm kind of upset right now. I'm going to acknowledge, I'm a little miffed. I'm a little upset. So there's this guy, I call him Cutie Patootie Marie, okay? And I've listened to him more recently. It's like, where did your accent go? No, I like that accent. I thought that little Cutie Patootie Marie. What is this, Joey Jones or something like that? Little Cutie Patootie. He's just a little cutie. No, he's Joe, you've been working on your accent? Why? That was cute. That was like the best part. I mean, you're still cute. But I like hearing that. No, that's fine. No, I can still listen to you. That's fine. It's just, no, that's fine, Cutie Patootie Marie. That's alright. That's alright. No, it's okay. No, that's fine. I just, no, that's fine. You've been to a voice coach or a speech coach or something like that? Okay, well, that's fine. No, that's fine. Were there people being mean to you, Cutie Patootie Marie? Were there people being mean to you? Let me have it. Okay. I'll take care of that, it's alright. I like that accent. Leave it alone. E equals MC squared, as far as Elon Musk, that Cutie Patootie over there, he still speaks the way he does. What's up? Sup? Sup? Huh? Thought that Marines were, no, that's fine. No, that's okay, Cutie Patootie Marie. Internal thoughts, not like actual, it's not like I've actually met these guys. I acknowledge, maybe I could have, but I wouldn't actually know because unless, E equals MC squared, Elon Musk were to be like, hi. I don't know if he'd actually do it this way either. Hi, I'm Elon Musk, or he'd call me E equals MC squared. Or, the little Cutie Patootie Marie be like, hey, Cutie Patootie Marie. So the inspiration for my outfit was because I was listening and watching, Sean Hannity. Yes, I said it. I watch and listen to Fox News. And I look as I do. I know. Imagine that a New Jerseyan who is herself. And so, and a Republican. Yep, since I could first vote at a whopping 18 years old. Yeah. I'm here 2000. And voted for 45. When I was in Washington, let me go a bit New Jersey mixed with, see, this is satire, I suppose, little New Jersey mixed with the 5 boroughs, pretty much overall, and Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Yeah, so. gain street cred? Hmm? I was up in Washington State. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, SeaTac area too. That's right. Just been a Republican and whatever. Even in Austin. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 In 2010, they put street cred on the voting right from that. What? That's right. But you know, yeah, that's right. Voted for 40 Tree. Yeah, 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 I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Voted for McCain and Palin. In the DFW area. Yeah, that's right. That's right. In the DFW area. Totally voted for McCain and Palin. And then voted for Romney and Ryan. Yeah, I did. Yes, I do. I know. Then, yeah, later, wound up in Washington State, and yeah. SeaTac area. Totally voted for 45. I did. And then, after I got back to the state of Texas, then, went to a couple rallies out in Austin. I mean, compared to 2010 and 2011, where, I acknowledged that I was a Republican in those years after, after DFW, voting for, McCain and Palin. Gave my opinions as far as certain things, but it's alright, I still voted for him. But yeah, 2010 and 2011, I very much let those in Austin know, yep, totally did, Totally not only told them that I'm a Republican, also told them that I voted for McCain and Palin in Austin, Texas. That's right. Yeah, I totally did. And then, then in 2020, looking as I do, my hair, my ink, yep, totally did. Yeah, totally. I mean, because I have etiquette and respect, I can make satirical comments and stuff like that and still respect that, okay, 44 became president. Yeah, totally can. Totally acknowledge whatever, um, but, I had this foresight, um, that some people were voting for him only because of his skin and his ethnic background, so totally took a stand against it. I mean, yes, there's the aspects of the military background and stuff like that, but listening to how the majority at that time were, it was like, what does his skin tone and hair have anything to do with anything on that? Because that was something that was brought up to me, and I was just like, wow. And this actually happened, for those who know my biological sister. Yeah, so my hair and my skin really don't have anything to do with why I'm voting for McCain and Palin. Yep. Yep, my hair is the color I created. And yep. I look as I do. Difference between New Jerseyans and years. Because there's the difference between a 1980s New Jerseyan and a 1990s New Jerseyan. For those who don't know, it's a huge difference between a 1980s New Jerseyan and a 1990s New Jerseyan. If you can consider her that, her first memories are from 1991, as far as New Jersey, sporadically through 1998, compared to my first memories of 1984 as the more solid memories through 1998. Whenever you consider a true New Jerseyan, I guess it depends on what level of. But yeah, so I was listening to and watching Sean Hannity and Sean Penn. I was like, yes, I do. So that's my political stuff. Yeah, or elected or whatever it's called as far as that's concerned. And so in Washington State, when in Vancouver, I had found this cat that was roaming around, and then I saw a poster and went to the specific apartment, and I knocked on the door and let her know that I had seen it. She's like, oh, come in. Come on in. Sean Hannity is on. Oh, I like Sean. You tell Sean Hannity would love now. Oh, okay. Sure. No. Sean Hannity is so handsome. He's so handsome. Okay. I'm already having, I can make the joke now. I'm already having issues. This looks so familiar. Like the plants are like from New Jersey, but I thought the address was Vancouver, Washington. What's going on? And then you're like a Yeti. Oh, Sean Hannity, he's so fantastic. He would take one look at you and just be in love. Sure, okay, yes, ma'am. Would you like, you have to watch Sean Hannity with me. Sit down. Okay, yes. In elementary school, where you got, yes, okay. I understand, yes, ma'am. So I don't know if she's like an aunt or a mom. You must love Sean. You listen to him. You know about, I did it. We used to watch Fox News. The boy Sean Hannity was so fun. There were certain things, but Sean Hannity, just I could just pinch his cheek. Okay, as he would look at you and love you. Okay, yes, ma'am. So I was listening to that interview, and I kind of figured, you know what? Let me do a version of, I'll do an outfit that's kind of New Jerseyan, but in my way, because that's a New Jersey thing to do. And again, I got my nails taken care of, my hair, because that's what matters. Yeah, that's my outfit is, and stuff like that. It is what it is. But now there's a quick little, my official YouTube channel video. Hopefully you were capable to enjoy and laugh. Make sure to subscribe to my official YouTube channel and share the link of my official YouTube videos. And go to my website, www.sealoflove.com. anybody who's been to the New Jersey coastline, you know the difference because it's the similar. No. So yeah, no. Islands and the Hamptons are not New York City, sort of thing. Just in reference to the coastline. And it depends, because in that particular reference, no, because if you go to this beach, this is what's nearby, okay? And so you have to stop by this place, and then this place, because if you know how it actually is up in New Jersey, because, yeah, no, because if you go to Seaside, there is a difference between the boardwalk on Seaside compared to, where Point Pleasant is. Two different boardwalks, are you? It's old school New Jersey. So then there's the coast, and then there's South Jersey, Mid-South New Jersey, Middle New Jersey, Middle above New Jersey, and then North New Jersey. And then it is the North, South, East, and West. As far as those different levels, like take the rainbow, essentially, and do per area, and then do like a little like whatever as far as, because then you could have two cities next to each other. No. Manalapan, okay? Manalapan is not Freehold, okay? Freehold has this, and Manalapan has that, okay? No. Not Marlboro, Manalapan, okay? Not Marlboro, Manalapan, just because there's two M's and I don't mean M and N. Like, there's a difference apparently because, I figured his, rapper name as far as Eminem, but I didn't know his name was Marshall Mathers. And so, it's the equivalent of, no. Marshall is not the same as Mathers. Manalapan is not the same as Marlboro. And so, though the irony of irony in certain references to Eminem songs, yeah, well, Freehold starts with an F. Pay attention to detail. Sure, there are other towns that are around the townships. They're in the townships. Okay, they're the townships in comparison to the actual cities. This is how I grew up. On top of living in the house that I grew up in and going to church. Like, oh yeah, no, that's cool. I'm just gonna walk around like nothing's bothering me because I'm not dealing with it, which is an irony later. So then there's the Bay Area of New Jersey, and for those who don't know, there's a massively huge difference between the 2 points of North New Jersey. That right there. Because only certain New Jerseyans know about that. You better pay attention whether you, and this is the irony, you better pay attention whether you east or west. You best know the difference. Because, you know, if you're right in the center, you better know. Because those points, if you're right in the center, that's like being on a line. One of the boroughs, New York City. You know, one side of the street is whichever borough, and you know that line is literally a line. Because you know, especially the 1980s and 1990s in the 5 boroughs of New York City. Which Pittsburgh and Philadelphia very much have that reference in so many ways. So now that I've gone into all those details and that reference, so you got Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, 2 different cities completely, 2 different sides of the Pennsylvania state. Certain similarities though. So, that's some proof, huh? That's right, I know my So, you have, which they have certain similarities in regard to Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. And this is a very easy situation to kind of explain for those who know certain areas in Texas, okay? So Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, it's kind of opposite as far as what's considered like if you go to, San Antonio, and you've got like the Dominion and Shavano Park, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia have the opposite, where one is the north side and one is the south side. Yeah, as far as that particular. And then there's the irony of opposites yet again, where one is the east side and one is the west side. As far as those 2 cities, when it comes to that, not necessarily Dominion, Shavano Park, but like medical center area. As far as the housing neighborhoods, for that understanding. And then, again, the complete opposite. It's literally like an 8 when you go into those references as, so then there's the, what is it? So then there's the opposite as far as east and west and north and south regarding which one's the equivalent of south San Antonio, because, you know, there are those who know. And then South San Antonio, which again, there are those who know. And then, as far as outside of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, then after you get out of what would be the equivalent of the 1604 loop, as far as those areas, then it flips. It literally flips, and like all of a sudden you're in like, you're like right outside of Lackland, but like you're on Military Highway, but you're not in the area of Lackland. You're like on the other side of 90, but not the side that Lackland is at. No. You're on the other side on like Military Highway for a certain number of miles. And that's kind of like the circular in that particular. And yeah, it is. Pennsylvania is one of the weirdest states ever. I like Pennsylvania mainly because of Lancaster. I like Lancaster. Meaning I like hanging out with the Amish and the Mennonites. You know, the real ones in that regard. The real Amish and the real Mennonites. In those particular references. I like kitchen kettle. And so the kitchen kettle from the 1980s and 1990s is extremely different than the kitchen kettle I saw in 2021. It's so different in that regard because I know what the best example for that is the way you walk. So during my Medal of Honor art project trips when I was in Nevada, I was driving in the car and my feet actually started having these weird sensations. And so